Hello and welcome to this video about the Employee tab on Clearcare. So let's look at this together. So far we've looked at tasks. We looked at these sections of overdue, tasks due today, pending approval, rejected and draft tasks. And then we looked a little bit more about how we can create tasks, what tasks are, and how to use tasks. Also, we looked at this My Summary page, and we also looked at down here the tabs that run down here, that as you go on to the different sections, the tabs will open up. Let's give an example of that. If I go on to the Employees tab, you see that tab now opens up. But if I go on to, and we've got a Mr. Test employee here, just for our sake, you now see a whole load of extra stuff opens up. So if I wanted to see, for example, Mr. Test's personal details, I can now add all of this. I can see when they started. I can see there's their face or image if it were there. When they joined this care group, so that they joined Clearcare, then I can look at their personal details. I can see those as next to kin, national insurance number, date of birth. In fact, if they wanted to give it, I could add it now. I could say, let's just say he is 3rd of March 2025. Let's just say for the minute. Employment details. Very young for his role, of course. But permanent contract, we've got his grading, we can put in his hours, we can select his line manager here. Let's see if we can do that now. There. And we can say what type of contract, we can save that. And we can add his contact details, so we could put his address in here as Test House, Test Road, and Testerfield. There we are. Except it would be nice if I spelt it like okay, and it's the UK, and TT1 T123. There we are. And the country is the United Kingdom. Phone number is 01234 567. There we are. All right, so that's that. So now we're producing quite a bit of a picture for our chap. And as I told you in the last or in the recent video of this, these are like the drawers, so you can go back and just look in more detail. We don't want to save his address. We can look in more detail about the different contents of the drawers here. His associations, what's he associated? Means what house within Spring Care for you is he associated? Well, he's associated with Daffodil House. If you have more than one house, you have to be associated with more than one house to be able to access their records. Then Mr. Test has uploads. Well, he doesn't at the moment, but we could upload. We could upload, for example, his staff handbook, and we'd put it in here if we wanted. Forget task uploads just for a minute. But Mr. Test also has on this section, as you will, a calendar, which is the house calendar for Daffodil House. And anything that comes up, he can look at this, or she could look at this, and then see what's coming. It might say doctor's appointment for, child 1 or 2, or hospital appointment, going out for a pizza, and so on, all on there. But they also, each staff member, including yourselves, has their rota on this section. And once you have your rota, you can see that, as you see, by day, week, or month. And you can have a look at the shifts. You can also see what your annual leave might be in this period, what you've applied for, what's pending, what's confirmed, what's rejected. And rejected may simply be that, you see, this person only has 2 days in annual leave entitlement. That was based on the information we've put in about his work so far. Then, if we want to look at Mr. Test's qualifications, we can add his certificates in there. And then we can also do his safer recruitment checks. So we can make sure we've done his right to work, DBS, proof of ID, criminal record checks, all there. We've not put them in yet, but we can. And again, it is all the documentation that you need to make sure is on your Clearcare when you open it up and have a look in this section. It is your responsibility as well as a management responsibility to make sure these details are correct and up to date. We also can put in his references, and we can put in the reference documents that have come. And if you want to keep copies of your referees, you could put them in there if you needed to. And again, we can upload a copy of his contract and his offer letter and so on into that. The last four are not relevant. That's an ad there for administrators. But the reason I've gone through all of this filing cabinet is it shows you just how much there is there. And you'll find the same if you had a new young person. You can go down these and add all the different information, and it just makes it easier to fill the overall filing cabinet for that person in. Now, you can also see if we were to go on to Mr. Test's initial My Summary, we'd see that he had 3 outstanding tasks, and his 3 outstanding tasks would simply be because he's got 3 documents here. Now let's have a look at these. You on yours, when you start Clearcare, will have more like 9 or 10 documents that you need to complete. So all you do is you go into your My Summary, you go to this section, which looks, and then you can go into that, look at the tasks, and it'll show you that way. Or you can go in down here to employees, put yourself in there. It'll only have yours, so you just click on that, go in here, and this is what will normally open up first of all. What do you do? Well, there's a GDPR compliance statement, and you can add your name. You could select your position in here. Let's just see what if we need to. Yeah, so it was a draft statement. We now need to complete it. So let's just go back in. Do you see what I did there? I went to Actions, Edit Task, because I want to edit the contents. So it's Mr. Let's just say J Test, and he's an RSW there. And now you can change his signature. You could you can write in here, I think, if I remember right. There we are. And we can save, and that's that. So that's Mr. Test's signature. And then you read the statement, and then you say you're signing to confirm it. And when you save that or submit it, like that, it means that it will now go in. If we go back to where we started with Mr. Test's documents, employees, there we are. It's been submitted to the line manager, who will now make sure that it's okay. And when he goes back to it, he can look at it, but he can't do any more with it. So if you're not sure, for example, the policy, there is one of these that says, let's have a look here. There is a section that says policy read and sign. Well, you are not going to read and sign everything on the first time, so you're going to come back to that. So save that as a draft. Don't go straight in and sign it off. That looks, I would be very surprised if you could read nearly 210 policies, procedures, and forms in one go. So that's something that you only submit when you've finished it. Once it's submitted, it goes into your permanent record. And then under your safer recruitment, there we are. You can see that those 3 have come up again. In fact, at the moment, there are no other forms in there. But let's just say for a minute, let's just add to our gentleman that he has just had a supervision. So we want to add his first supervision in there for his, say, for his appraisal period. And we're going to save that as a draft. Now, if we go back to Mr. Test, you'll see that he's got his supervisions are there. And, as we said it would, when you go in there and it's finally submitted, so we're going to open it first, like we said before. And now we're going to submit it in. There's nothing in there, but that doesn't matter. It's to prove the point of where we are. Okay, so if we look in all, but if you look in his employment forms, he's now just got his supervision because that's specifically about his employment. But if you look in his safe recruitment forms, he hasn't got the supervision there. Can you see that? So all employment, safe recruitment. And as we add forms to Mr. Test, different things that he does through his career, then you'd see that they come up in either in different drawers like that, or it adds them to to the drawer. So when he's finished a year of supervisions, it's very easy. You can see the dates there. You can open them up and have a look at them. We can run a report on what was talked about. But they're all things that I would do as the administrator. At the moment, it's just about what are we learning from today. So we are learning. Let's go back to the Employee tab. In fact, let's go all the way back to where we started. We started by saying that so far we have seen how the Clearcare looks, and we've looked at this my summary page. We I've looked at what tasks are, and let's have a look at this one task that needs to be submitted. So there was we took a supervision there. We now have to acknowledge that it took place, because this is where we'd say, as Mr. Test will say, yes, I acknowledge that this supervision happened and I'm happy with the supervision, or I want to add my own details. When he submits that, whoops, oh yeah, sorry, I have to change the name of the form because uh, let's say 12th of the 3rd 25. I can put any title I like in, but what it's saying is it's not got any data in, and it doesn't want to write over the templates, so you have to give it another name. Let's submit it now. And if we go back to Mr. Test Employee, he now should have his employment form, which was his supervision, and there's the acknowledgements of it. So you could see, for example, now that they correspond together. Go back to my summary. So we said there were tasks, and I just did that as a side exercise to show you what the tasks can look like and how to fill in a task. Now, there are draft tasks, and they'll be, in this instant, there'll also be some of my tasks that I need to look at, and here they are, right in front of me. And as we said before, this whole section is your working area. As a manager, I would also have tasks to approve, but at the moment I've got nothing to approve because it's not set for me to be the approver of this test person. What we've also looked at though today is the Employee tab. So going down here, and we've said there are all the different employees here, and we're just going to go into our test employee so you can look. And we said when you go in there, there's a lot of information in here that you will need to fill in yourself about you as a candidate. We're looking at Mr. Test, but this will be your personal one. When you first get Clearcare, you need to look at this, and you also need to make sure that anything under this safer recruitment task has been completed. How do you complete them? Well, we did that. We simply said, let's have a look. We open it up. Most of them don't require any more detail into them. Now, remember, you can't alter anything. Why? Because they're drafts. They've already been made, basically. We didn't fill them in, we saved them as a draft. So what we need to now do is either edit, or we can copy to a new task. If we needed a second version, 1.2 for example, of this consent, because maybe we'd added something to it or there was an addition to it, we'd copy it to a new task. But we're not going to do that. We haven't even filled it in yet. So we're just going to edit it. It's going to ask us, do we understand that we are editing it? We say yes. Now we can put in Mr. Let's just say test in there. We can say his position was an RSW. And then when we go down, you can see we don't want my signature in there. You want his. Actually, let's see if we can select him. No, we can't. We can't do that at the moment. So we will simply create a signature there, and we're going to save that instead. So that's Mr. Test. Now, if I was permanently, once the system's got used to you with your signature, and there's only your record on here, it'll just keep your signature there. But the moment we've done that, we've signed it, and that's simple. It's this that you are consenting to, so you need to read what's been put there. And we said don't submit until you're sure that you've completed all the tasks. We gave the example of a policy folder, and we said that if the policy folder has 210 policies, you don't want to immediately submit it first day. You need to read them first, because legally that will bind you to having read them if there was ever a serious incident. So be careful, read the content of these, and then submit it when you're happy it's done. And then we showed, we went back and we looked at, with this chap, Mr. Test Employee, we looked at his summary of documents and we saw how the drawers had grown accordingly. We did a supervision, and then we also did an acknowledgement of that supervision, and we saw how once one thing's done, another drawer had appeared to file it in automatically. So one last thing to say in this session is, so as we go back now, I'm just going to show you the quick back button. We of course can go to my summary, which will take us off Mr. Test. We can go straight up here to these blue arrows and say that's where we are at the moment. So that takes us back there. And if we want to go to my summary, we go back to my summary. So it really is quite straightforward, and you just need to fill in everything that's on those sub menus that we talked about. So I'm going to show you there one last time these sub menus here. So when you get your Clearcare, check all the information and complete all the information in there. Fill all of these draft forms in here, and it's as simple as that, really. Okay, if you've any questions or queries for your Clearcare, then come back to me. Otherwise, thank you for listening to what we've done today.